Hero Marine yesterday, he had some weak moments.
Yeah, we'll delve into that further after the introductions. It's game one, guys, on Blackburn. In the bottom right, representing NV, he is a Bunny.
In the bottom left-hand corner, our blue Zerg player from NC Sports, we have got Serral.
There really are examples somewhat recently of Serral even being, very challenged when it comes to this matchup that Bunny could have looked into. Perhaps him and a lot of other Korean Terrans got into a quick little Discord chat and were like, what can you do? What can you do? Because I think that there is a little bit of still that kind of pride of Korea versus the one foreigner that so far has kind of repeatedly toppled them. Kind of same versus Rainer as well, but he's not here, is he? So I actually would really enjoy Bunny having like a couple of tricky builds to really throw Serral off kilter, and then it might be him with the momentum. I mean, that's what we saw the first time we saw Clem take Serral down, was that it was a couple of really powerful builds, a Hellbat build that Serral like almost never loses to. Suddenly he does go down there, suddenly he's off his game for the rest of the best of 5. Like, it is possible. Serral's definitely not a god who is not going to bleed.
Not nowadays he isn't, that is for sure. I think Bunny has a good chance of showing us some exciting stuff. I mean, don't forget, this is the guy that shows up with the Thor drops and 4 pushes and TVP. He will stop at nothing to grab victory if he needs to. So I'm 100% behind Bunny doing a little bit crazy in this series and just keeping Serral outside of his comfort zone.
Yeah, I think it's really difficult to do as Terran has like tons of builds. So technically it shouldn't be that difficult to do. There's something that Serral finds like, oh, okay, that was interesting. And yet we still call this matchup the most mechanically demanding, and what really separates the boys from the men, whatever, is the mechanics. But yeah, you can definitely throw something in there to kind of just throw off the Zerg more so than the Zerg can kind of throw off the Terran. Especially like a guy like Serral. I know we kind of mixed in some of the earlier all-ins, but I've almost never liked them. Even when they work, I'm always like, but that's Serral. Why no macro?
Yeah, but that's what makes Serral scary, right? That you can't just cut corners against him, because if you cut corners, well, if it's the game, he's put that Rotoron down, and then you've lost your chance to even have a go at the series, right?
Yeah.
So it is dangerous, but I also don't disagree. If you get late game, you expect Serral to have the upper hand and so on. But like I say, lately, I wouldn't say that Serral's mechanics have been flawless, and in a lot of places they haven't been, not being able to keep attention to units here and there. One thing that really impressed me yesterday, though, was his creep spread. His creep was relentless all series long, and if that can keep up in this series, Bunny's going to have a tough time, as that is an early Rotoron you're just talking about, CG.
I know. Oh, it's funny. I mean, we do have a decent amount of games in this season of finals with 3 CCs. Pretty quickly from the Terran, and Blackburn is certainly a map you can do that on as well. So Serral might be hoping for a nice and easy victory, but it's actually not going to be that 3cc. No scouting all really from Serral to determine what the heck it is. It's not going to be Banshees though, which would have been preferred to have the Banshee come out immediately, help against the Roaches. It is going to be the Viking and perhaps Liberator after that, which is less helpful. So we are really going to have to watch Bunny scout this and then adapt.
Yeah, but he's going to need some preparation back at home, as I think you're right, Liberator and Stim at the same time would be nice, unless he does just land that Starport onto Tech Lab, because he's had money to start Stim already. He's flown a lot of money, in fact, so Bunny, what are we about to do here? SCV's in the middle of the map as well. That isn't meant to happen.
Nah, he got a Banshee.
Go Banshee. Well, that's really, really good for Bunny. That is exactly what he needs to go for to help him against this, but it's still a Banshee after Viking.
Yeah.
So, in a way, it will be at home, but you don't get any damage on the Roaches as they move across.
Yeah, this is actually the least likely way I think I've ever seen a Banshee come out. Go a little more in depth if there wasn't Roaches on the front of Bunny's base. But the important thing is that this Banshee is not as fast as it could have been. It's all about mitigating the damage, how much Roach damage can be done, because this isn't really so all-in from Serral. He's not sending non-stop lings to the side of the map. So it is going to take a lot of time away from the mining. It is going to, of course, have to be responded to, but it's not going to end the game, especially with Bunny reacting. So good so far.
Yeah, I love it. Just pull up to the high ground. Don't lose any SCVs. He knows he's going to lose depots. He already had new ones building. He knows this Banshee will come out and will eventually push these Roaches back, or they will eventually go down. So yeah, why attempt to hold a natural that you don't have the damage output to hold when you can just take less damage holding your main base? And I think that's the correct way to hold this. Of course, Serral now takes a 16 worker lead, and Bunny's not been mining properly, so there is advantages for Serral here. I would say in general, you could say that this is a success, but of course, it's a success in a world where Bunny didn't initially have a scout. He didn't have the best setup against it. So yeah, it was kind of meant to work at least a little bit, and it has done here.
It's actually, I keep double checking to see if Bunny might have sensed something, seen the glimpse of something, and from what I can tell, I can't figure it out. But by moving away from a potential Liberator follow-up and into a safety Banshee, this doesn't get Cloak, it doesn't get a Sister, like, it actually did dramatically help his defense. So that's, 12 SCDs killed plus versus nothing, well, economic-wise, I guess, really being torn down, except the natural didn't get to mine, and supply depots had to be remade. But totally a playable game. And now, of course, Serral does go into the Roach game, which we also have come to expect 50-50 on Blackburn.
Ooh, Eva Chambers going to buy a little bit more time. The Helen's like, yeah, I guess we can't go in there after all. One Helen gets popped back, and it's just going to get away as well. Yeah, those are some pretty slick Evo Chambers. Serral is just mounting a whole bunch of Roaches, but will start melee upgrades. Has got Ling Speed coming through. It's just a lot more Roaches to defend for the moment, and maybe that's where Bunny can do something against these Roaches for now, maybe get some drops rolling, etc. Problem is he is just so far off his 1-1 and just having a setup that's comfortable going across the map and dropping.
Yeah, he could try dropping, but then there's always that fear in the back of your mind, like what if it is a 1-1 Roach push? Once you figure out, hey, it's not going to be that, then, I mean, the way the game is played out is kind of already played out. You're kind of in a defensive position, only dropping, not really doing a main push, and then you realize, oh, okay, this guy's going up to a hive and getting Ling Baneling. So again, a lot of information is critical to Bunny right now, who's trying to do as much harassment as possible. Banshee wasn't really long for the world for very long, but still an unfortunate loss like that.
Yeah, well, it's got no Cloak to get away with, and obviously it's just one Banshee. It's not meant to do much, but it's still nice if you can show up, kill a drone or two, and then go down rather than just kind of die in the middle of the map. Out of nowhere, as Bunny does at least set the tanks up to defend the third, and now he might feel confident with 1-1 being done soon to actually get these Marines just a bit further forward and trying to clean up some creep or something. Of course, we talked about the creep just a little earlier. If you don't start clearing that creep out, you're going to have a tough time pushing later in the game, and that's when Serral is just kind of allowed to do whatever he wants, and even if you take a good fight, you can't even capitalize on it.
Yeah. I mean, Bunny does not have a ton of information right now. Even the Queens on the backside of the gold. I mean, they have the creep deny, but still a wonderful placement there to make sure the drones can, in fact, mine. As Serral goes up to a hive and finishes only 1-1, Bunny is trying to just look for scouting and maybe finally a drop, which is headed towards the main. Of course, gets scouted by an Overlord, but there is our first drop with Spore Crawlers and Lings to defend. Yeah, Bunny's just going to be waiting a while, seems like it.
Yep, just gonna hold back. Maybe just wants to play a longer game where you just sort of say, yeah, let's play a late game. I'll get my 4th base rolling. I'm gonna get my upgrades and just maybe I push while maxed out, but maybe I also just, think about ghosts already. Think about what you're gonna try and do. I don't hate it on Blackburn. I always thought Blackburn's a good map to sit back and hold out on. Beautiful splits on the medevacs, just making it so you can't cross the those down when caught in a fungal. But just to finish my point, it is a map where you can take a lot of bases that are easily defended from the Zerg. You can sit back a little bit, and you can try and just go toe-to-toe, mine out the map, and trade better overall.
The only reason I was just a little bit hesitant was that I did kind of, if Bunny had 100% knowledge like we did, then I think he would have wanted a faster 4th command center, but he did add on his gases before then. He prioritized, of course, his upgrade to the armory finishing and then, 4th CC, but it still isn't a bad time. It's not like he 8-rack stolen and it failed. No, it's totally fine. And you're absolutely right. Blackburn is proven to be difficult for Zergs. Not so difficult that it's imbalanced, but just a bit difficult because they can't really get a lot of those run-by opportunities that they have on most, if not all, the other maps. Blackburn very much encourages a headbutt in the middle and skirmishes elsewhere, but not really run-bys.
Yeah, that is very, very true as we just move up here, by the way, and just gonna see if we can do anything. He's really desperate to get any creep that he can so far, and kind of luring units in towards his own kind of high ground tank or so. And he's just going to get that 4th in position. I mean, Serral has obviously just been doing a bit of everything as well. A bit of infested production. Ultras are getting ready as well. He's kind of set to play a longer game, although maybe not quite set to save this base. I think we just commit for this as Bunny, and I think he gets it.
Yeah, he might get out with a couple of units as well. Yep. Medevac That's actually really nice. There's still nothing really super reliable to take down the medevacs. They will continue to fly around, maybe even some Liberator harassment later on, as Serral is headed into more ground, no Spire play. I mean, I assume since, we're both players are very much alive at 10.5 minutes, I do assume that we're going to get to a point where Serral will start to think about a possible Brood Lord transition, but, at this point, it's actually usually like Lurkers a lot of time in other games. Oh, it is kind of old-fashioned Ling, Baneling, well, Ravager as well, with the Ultras. Singular Ultra right now, but eventually more.
Yeah. Do you like Ultras on this map? Because I really feel like it's so difficult to get Ultras into good positions on this map. Like, maybe you can get a couple, like, top right while you're pushing bottom side, and it's like, that's nice for a run by, but, like, as a key component of the army, just get a little bit worried that they're going to just get chewed up before they get into any proper engagement.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually not really super, like, yeah, I'm wondering what these Ultras can really do. I'm with you, but I also trust Serral. He knows how to play this matchup. Yep. So the Lurker Den, I believe, or Hydralisk Den, something just going down, but the Ultralisk Cavern is actually going to be focus fired, so that stops the Ultra Speed while Bunny moves into the middle, hoping to find maybe Infestors out of position. Actually doesn't find too much, maybe some Creep Tumors, but again, Serral has been so insistent, actually a little over-dedication there from Serral, perhaps distracted by the drop.
Yeah, actually really did just let a full energy Infestor walk up that ramp into its own death, so that's the sort of thing, right, where Serral has not been fully perfect, and, it's crazy to expect him to be able to do that as Hoth thought this fight's going to break out. Blind Clouds go down on the tanks, going to hold off their fire quite a bit, and this is one of the places the Ultras can kind of come through and get an engagement rather easily. Still going to lose one of them. We do get all of the tanks, though, and we're still rolling forward. More tanks ripe for the picking, and Serral, he's rebuilding 64 Lings, so he could maybe just stream across the map and do even more behind this. I like that push, and I felt that was very effective for him.
It was a little awkward for Bunny. Bunny didn't actually have everything all together or all of his siege tanks active, which would have given him actually quite the deep tank line, but it was 1, then 2, then 3. Okay, then there's the tank line actually prepared to go. So Serral does take a decent engagement there. He did, by the way, just replace the Ultralisk Cavern. He just realized it was going to be sniped, so yeah, definitely no Lurkers in this game, but there is that Spire that I was talking about. If Serral needs it, he's once again going to move in right on top of those Ghosts. No snipes coming down. Tanks again being caught on siege as the Ghosts get hit by the Banelings. Their cries echo out into the game, and that actually could be game, man. Like, this actually is just over, isn't it?
They echo out into the game. Where else are they going to echo?
I don't know, but how is this actually the game? It felt like Bunny, while his tanks were on siege, still had a decent supply, and yet here we are, when he's down 30, he does hold on to his bases, but 27 SCVs went down, and a lot of Ghosts went down. Really expensive units.
Serral factor. He's just like, oh, is it time for me to take a good fight? Go on,
I guess so.
Why not? That fight was amazing. Look at how much damage just Serral was able to get done. And he just rebuilds straight away because he's had a good bank as well, right? And he hasn't, like, fully maxed out. But compared to Bunny, the rebuild is very, very real. Bunny is even just in this sort of position, right, where if he couldn't hold that attack, how does he hold this one? And that's the dangerous part. You just don't have as much as he had before. Serral has just as much. Well, you can just see that this is not going to work out. And as Serral runs on through, Bunny just kind of lost control of Blackburn a little bit, right? He just got out of hand.
Yeah, it did. It did. I mean, I guess it was a little bit of a preview when the first attack on the plateau went down, and it was the 1 tank, 2, 3 tank. It was a bit of a preview. Bunny was not as well prepared in any of those engagements as it felt like he should have been with his composition, with his, what seemed to be equal pacing. He was also going into a later game. He was getting his nice tank count set up. He was getting a Ghost count. And then all of a sudden it was like, oh, I guess that is game. Yeah. Okay, then. Cool.
I mean, it's honestly kind of, I like to call it the Serral factor, right? It's just when Serral suddenly is like, okay, time for a fight, and he just wins, because when Serral takes a fight, he wins the fights. This was, I think, a really good game from Serral. Like, there was a moment or two where you were like, oh my god, he's lost an Infestor, but it's like, okay, you're also dealing with a drop or so. And yeah, he lost the Ultra Cavern at one point. This hatchery went down, but he didn't really need it, right? The losses that Serral took were so insignificant. And then otherwise, it's funny because if you watch these highlights, you're like, oh, Bunny defended a Roach attack. He denied this, he denied that. And it all started with this fight as well, I feel like, where Bunny's just not really got everything. There's so much further back, and so Serral just gets so many good trades here. And that just, I feel like, set him up for the fight after.
I think that, yeah, you're exactly right. Like, it set him up well for the fight after. It just, Yeah, that was not the game that Bunny wanted to play really at all, even thinking back to the opener. It wasn't even necessarily that the roaches themselves did a lot of direct damage, but just thinking about how Bunny's build was, I guess it was apprehensive. He was actually maybe just like thinking actively like, well, wait, what if it's roaches? Because he was starting to bank minerals and gas. He didn't start that sim. He didn't go right into the Liberator. That was probably his plan. And even with that, already throwing off Bunny's plan, Serral, I guess, found success in that way, took control of the game, and ended it before it even really got into the late game. But now we head into 2K atmospheres. In the top right for Team Ents, he is Serral.
Bottom left-hand corner, our red Terran player. Team NV, it is Bunny.
Ooh, Bunny, a little slap down there. And Serral actually anticipating perhaps the revenge 2-racks. Does happen.
Which
Fair amount.
I like, to be fair. I think it makes a lot of sense just to go pool first. I also think Serral's comfortable, right? You're 1-0 up and you're like, well, let's not throw away my lead. And if that last game was so comfortable anyway, how much is a pool first really going to hurt me?
Yeah, I guess it'd be very odd to say that anyone could take Bunny right now not seriously and be like, I can just be super safe and not have to worry. Because I do think Bunny could, like, you know, theoretically against a super safe, middle of the road almost Serral, Bunny could do like a really fast third CC into like straight to barracks and then be in a good position. And I think that still would be a difficult game for Serral to play out. But yeah, I do think after that last game looking like it went almost exactly to Serral's plan. Yeah, play it safe against a guy who is known for his aggression. And we also move on to a map that's even more likely. Okay, we do have a proxy of some sort. And it's even more likely to go into the late game is what I was going to say. Then a CV.
Proxy Factory? Double Factory?
Oh, yeah, you know, you could bring that out again, for sure.
I don't see what other reason you proxy Factory for, unless you also proxy the starport and maybe like a super fast Hellion drop.
Very unorthodox in this matchup.
Yeah.
I mean, not unheard of, but yeah, definitely not the common way to go. So we have seen before the double factory, one out in proxy. I remember a couple of games, like it was basically a month where this was really popular, but I actually thought that was a second factory proxy, not the first one. We still don't have a second factory. Well, okay, this is awkward.
Yeah, I mean, this is really awkward because Serral's also going to see there is no factory in the main base, right? So he immediately knows, hey, you don't actually have, you know, where's your gas gone? He's going to kill the Marine. Oh my
God. Oh my God.
Is
this
just,
actually...
I mean, 2 SCVs, a Marine, next Marine's still on the way up. This is horrendous.
This is horrendous. The Reaper would have to come back to help. It did come back to help. The only silver lining here for Bunny is that Serral never technically scouted the second gas. So he could think that he just interrupted a 3cc build.
Maybe.
It'd be like, I would say the last thing you usually expect from a Terran is a double proxy.
Yeah, but where's the factory though? Like, the factory's down there already. If he goes in, no.
Yeah, I know. But like, if it was barracks, then third CC, then factory, maybe he's like, it was far away from the Lings. Maybe I totally interrupted this guy. Like,
yeah.
Again, I don't think Serral is looking at Bunny as like someone who's like, wow, this guy's so bad, his factory's not here. I guess I win. But I do wonder if his thought process is going to go towards a proxy in this matchup. I mean, his queen's like well positioned.
Yeah, he's just got a queen sat there, some Lings on the way up. I think he's going to look to be pretty okay. He is really setting up for
there
his
you
top
go.
part. Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Doesn't even have to scout it. I thought a Ling might go around the map, but nope.
Yeah, I mean, he's just got he just knows, like, the only thing that's going to come his way is potentially a drop, so yeah, makes sense, and Serral is already looking to set up well as he's ahead in workers. Medevac's going to pop up, get 3 Hellions lifted in, and up the right-hand side of the map, we're going to go drop into this main base where Lings are sat waiting, and Bunny's like, well, cool. Like, did you see his face? He's like so dejected. He's like, oh, come on, you figured it out? Oh, that's brutal for Bunny. Because now his production's just in the middle of nowhere as well. He's building a reactor on the factory? Okay.
Huh.
Yeah. I'm still not sure about that one. Still doesn't even get a drone. No, Bunny. This is not pretty at all. The Hellions will do whatever they can. Queen's putting damage out though, so there's a limited time you can stick around. Serral starts a Spine Crawl, starts a Bane Nest, and it looks like we're just going to go for a Hellbat attack off the back of this. I mean, okay, I don't disagree. It's like sort of crazy, that could maybe work.
But it feels like the sort of crazy that Serral is exactly expecting. Well, I mean, the Spine Crawl and the Baneling Nest are going to be perfect answers to a Hellbat attack. It is certainly one of those things where the best possible like follow-up is this. So of course Serral also predicts that. And so you'd have to basically be playing a drunken style type of Master TVZ where you're like, I do the least expected thing, which I'm not sure Bunny is like really that type of player, even though we proxied in this game to start things off. Liberator harassment goes okay, a couple of drones. Queen's gonna take a shot, not even, gonna micro that away. But it's gonna be very difficult. I mean, the armor's almost done. The Banelings are 5 in counts, but the Hellions are already even weak. The split goes down, the Banelings still looking for the collision, they find it, and this is going to be totally cleaned up while Serral was droning, by the way.
Yeah, I know. He's got a 15 worker lead already, 4 more about to pop out as well. This was the sort of, I like this because it felt like a really prepared build from Bunny. He said, you know what, game 2, 2,000 atmospheres, I'm going to do this, maybe his map pick, throw him off a little bit. Yeah. But it went so wrong with the 6lings, and that is actually just Bunny's own tendencies working against him, right? Serral only does this because he's like, oh, this guy's a 2-rax, this sort of thing. And then, because of that, he gets across the map, and maybe in that case, Bunny should have been a bit more cautious with that Reaper, kept it at home. That was a risk he took. Obviously wanted to do some damage, throw Serral off a bit, and try and open the door for this proxy to then work out a bit better, but everything just backfired for him here as, once again, units in position to defend the main mineral line. He is going to morph in Hellbats. Get a little interesting.
Yeah, really trying to just find Serral with his guard down. Not really a whole lot of Banelings, just the one. It's going to get healed back up. Medevac's still alive. He's going to chase after the Queen, and the drones have to be evacuated temporarily at least, but what? No, like, don't use your drones against Hellbats. That seems like a terrible idea.
Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say let's not do that one as the Medevac just gets out of there. I mean, you got to risk it all at this point as Bunny, who is going to build mech behind this. 2 more factories. Mech might be good for not letting the game end, but it's also going to be really bad at helping the game to end in your favor, I feel like. So, I mean, maybe good for surviving, but I'm not sure if it's going to work out with such a rough start where Serral just has so much money. Maybe the best part of this is going to keep Serral so busy that Serral's just not eventually prepared for mech, as right now Serral is having a little bit of trouble.
I think Serral is like, why are you still building Hellions?
Yeah.
Like, why are you still doing Hellbat attacks? But I mean, really, relentless aggression is something we know that Bunny is known for, and something he likes to do. In this case, the desperation is kind of working with his aggressive tendencies to maybe find a little success, at least certainly keeping Serral on the ball of his hose, like he doesn't go across the map and do anything. Maybe he doesn't realize it is mech, but direct damage just still isn't really doing a whole lot.
Bunny's like, you know why Hellbat attacks don't work? It's because people don't attack 4 different times with them.
The fourth time is really where you get it.
If you just keep going past all the failures. Yeah, I think the biggest win here for Bunny is he has kept Serral busy enough to stop thinking about what actually might be happening. Like, he has no idea it's mech, and playing Ling Bane against mech can sometimes work, but it's really difficult to make work. So there's a very good possibility, although I'm still surprised Serral maybe doesn't even think about it because, there's been a heck of a lot of Hellions at this stage. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what Serral does when he sees for sure that it's mech now. At some point soon, I imagine. There's, in fact, an Overlord in the main, I guess, so he does know now.
Yeah. I don't know when it got in, but he's known maybe for a bit. If it wasn't that, it was the gases.
Yeah, Rotron going down. So it feels like he's just now... Maybe he knew for a little bit, but he's just now responding.
Sure, yeah, exactly. I mean, honestly, like, that many Hellbats can be a tell, guys, but then in this type of game, especially with a Hellbat attack that you feel desperately has to do damage, like, we see even Bioterrans make... Oh gosh, even upwards to 14 Hellions, to be honest, but I kind of forgot the factory was still proxied. He does have 4 other factories having been built at home, and of course we do have the Cyclone Hellion mech. It's going to be a bit more active. I mean, Bunny did it for a time, actually, keep Serral down in drones, but now it's being fixed. But that's I'm kind of grasping here to give a convincing game for Bunny. He's got to do more.
Yeah, this is... It's not pretty, is it? You just see the Ling Bane wanting to maybe move down towards those Hellbats. I mean, obviously, you do get a cancel on a base. That's nice, but obviously we're still talking about a world in which there's no 4th base for the Terran either. So, on 4 base, it's still okay here. These Banelings don't really have much to do, I guess, as the SCVs got away. We'll blow up on a few and bring them low HP for later in the game, perhaps, as Serral is building a Roachling Bane. Do you think we just see him attack all out at one point of this? I mean, there's no BCs or anything to, force him into further tech super quickly, so he can just put everything into a full frontal ground attack.
Yeah, I don't see a reason not to. I mean, not only is it a good game for Serral. Okay, no SCVs here.
No!
It's also... Okay, here we go. It's also a game that if he does put the onus on Bunny to defend, Cyclone Hellion does get a lot worse. If it doesn't have places to micro, then it's not going to hold up. This is where you usually see tanks really being necessary, a couple of safety tanks or actually transitioning into tanks should be happening at this point, and it's not. So Bunny, especially as soon as he loses track of the army, the Terran just doesn't realize the army's about to hit him. I mean, that's usually just game over, super easy for Lizard.
Yeah. Bunny's doing a great job keeping his SCVs alive against those banelings. It's just still the amount of time he has to spend running is going to dig into that economy as well. It's going to slow him down, especially when he's having to pull workers away from gas. He's only just fixed the gas in his third base as well, so he's just been having a lot of missing gas, which is obviously usually pretty important when you're playing mech. A few banelings get left to roll forward there, create a bit of distance between Hellion, Cyclone, and the rest of the Ling Bane, as Bunny will come out to the right side watchtower, take that for a few moments. And otherwise, just a lot of production still from Serral, who is now maxed out, so let's see what he wants to do. He has sent up a couple spines, though, making sure some of the Hellion counterattacks will not just have free reign over his mineral lines.
He's getting high, he's getting more hatcheries. I mean, he's maxed out. He could just decide to pull the trigger, but it actually seems like he's thinking more late game. The perhaps assured victory in his mind is to play this out safely and calmly and not try and run into what could potentially be, like, at this point, well-positioned tanks. I think Bunny finally started to go into them, so he does have 5. That still isn't really a whole lot, but, you get the point. Like, Serral doesn't know everything that we know, and maybe playing out to the late game is his decision to close out the 2-0. It's going to take a bit longer, though, and if he just put the pedal to the metal right now, but he doesn't want to.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of potential, but Serral probably also says, hey, I'm so good late game. I'm perfectly set up to get into a great late game position as well. I don't hate it because it's Serral. If it was anyone else, I'd be a bit more like, well, what if you make a mistake? But yeah, we know Serral doesn't do that a lot, although right now a lot of Lings running into a whole bunch of nothing, right? And it is still very Ling heavy in reproduction too. Now he's going to gun for the front, but yeah, that's not going to go too far. They're pulling back to Siege Tank Fire, and the Cyclone's able to get some lock-ons for some extra kills.
Now that Bunny has gotten over like the 150 supply, it's a bit of a hump for Terran mech. Like, I could see this game going his way. It still has to play out with a lot of things going his way, either slightly or completely. But I mean, yeah, I think it's more a possibility than before. And as I say it, a fungal hits the Cyclones, kills almost every single one. Bunny dips back down to 130 supply, and now Serral's like, yeah, I think I can do this, which I do believe he's correct. Rest of the army's coming forward, but all of Serral's already on the front lines. High ground tanks might be a bit difficult to deal with, but Serral is going into Spire, upgrades, economy behind all of this, and Bunny now has no map presence.
That was a perfect reset. That's like the one thing that Bunny couldn't have happened if he wanted to come back into this, because now, while we were getting a little worried for Serral, all of those concerns have just disappeared in the last few seconds, because that's the kind of fight that just keeps Bunny back at home. Like you say, really no map control. It just becomes difficult from here as this Infest is going to look, and it wants to hit something, but I guess the reinforcing units to actually take advantage of a fungal aren't really nearby yet. They're currently rotating around the right-hand side. Looks like we're going to try and catch here. Of course, those Infestors are terrifying. If they pop up, grab a fungal, you lose this army, and that is expensive once again. Even if it is just a lot of Hellions, it's a lot of your bulk just disappearing.
Yeah, I mean, it means that the tanks are going to get set upon a much faster and be much less effective. The Hellbats are absolutely important. Bunny is still hanging on to dear life. Serral probably still feeling very calm and collected about this. I mean, he's going to be adding on Broodlords, which is something that Bunny would have difficulty responding to, especially if his Hellions keep getting destroyed by these pesky little fungals. But I guess Bunny has at least got his 4 bases back up. +3 attack as well is pretty cool if Thors vs. Broodlords do become the game. That upgrade is beautiful to have. And we already have Bunny, I guess, considering the air problem. So he has a Thor on the way. I don't think Serral's very happy this game's gone on this long.
So yeah, I know Serral's like, didn't I defend like 5 different Hellbat attacks early game? Didn't I like completely shut down everything and kill like 3 SCVs with my 6 Lings? Yeah, I mean, but that's the thing with mech, right? Like, a lot of the time, it's more frustrating to just win against than anything else, because it can take a long time to work your way through these armies and do what you need to do. Serral counterattack, and what a counterattack that is, that's just a mineral line gone, and he's gonna, well, be able to keep on trading out even. So 17 workers down, he's actually gonna fight the Hellbats. That doesn't go as well, but the damage is already done, and he's got the units to fight over here as well. He's got the Vipers, which can actually abduct in a couple tanks, taking away some of the better splash damage toward the tail end of the Terran army. And once more, Serral is just constantly 60, 70, 80 supply ahead, which just means that none of these fights are really that good for Bunny.
Even burrowing, making sure Bunny doesn't get really any economy going. Bunny is at the 20 army supply deficit, which isn't as bad as the overall score makes it look, but he's also at a bit of like a... I mean, he's at a deficit in a lot more ways than his army supply, right? Like, the Vipers are going to be a problem. The composition's a problem, as he has very few units actually within the tanks. There come the Blading Clouds. The reinforcements after this, in case this didn't go well for Serral, also would have been way too much. I mean, I think Bunny is just realizing I got to do something rather than nothing, but even he knows the situation is dire. This
is not a fight you unsiege from and then push further forward, right? Like, not in your wildest dreams, but Bunny just knows he has no other option, so he just has to go pedal to the metal, and he just has to keep on attacking and maybe hoping that somehow this is going to go his way, but that's going to be a massive blinding cloud to set us up. The tanks are really the only thing here. That one Thor is going to drop down if something breathes on it. And yeah, we're just going to keep on moving through. The Thor, fortunately, has avoided the win so far. Staying alive, being pulled back to the tank line, but the gap is just getting larger and larger, and Serral is going to take game number 2, which he actually looks upset when he wins this one. He's like, well, why couldn't I just end this sooner? Mech, man, it's just so good at not dying.
Yeah, like minute 12, and he just kind of like started shaking his head. I was like, I know that feeling. Like, but what if? Now, that was obviously a plan that did not go well from the beginning. Bunny, as you had already pointed out, like kind of his aggressive tendencies working against him because it was a pool first. Serral, attacked actually with 6 lings instead of just maybe like 2 very defensive lings in a more normal game. Not only that, I think Bunny was probably prepping for a bit of like a Marine push out to the front. So in a way, he was kind of greedy by not adding on a reactor, which might have been able to buy time for the lings to not get into the main, not realize, oh my god, there's not a factory. But instead, he was still building Marines. Maybe his plan was to add a reactor after that first one, yeah, but then he had to build the second Marine. Either way, the lings were in. Like, it was already problematic, and there's not many other situations, as we discussed, where there's not a factory in the Terran space. It's a very important building, or a second structure in general, guys.
Yeah, it's actually is funny, though, that these Hellbat attacks almost worked because he just kept doing them, you know? Like, they seem bad, but if 4 bad things come together and they make a good thing, maybe, it kind of felt like that for a little while. Obviously, Serral just went on to do a great job denying the economy repeatedly, forcing SCVs to run away from banelings a lot of the time. Just time and time again, able to put himself better and further ahead, and obviously that led into fights towards the end of the game, which we just saw were extremely one-sided, really.
Yes, they were. It was hard to hype that one up, guys. There's like only so much that Bunny could have done. He really had to have everything go almost flawlessly from the moment his 3cc was saturated, which, of course, we know it didn't, especially that one fungal that killed like 40 supply, really reset everything that was being built up. We do move on to Oxide for what could potentially be the last game of the series, and we all know at this point, 6 months in, that Oxide is a Terran-favored map, so maybe this is where the momentum resets.
You always do so much studying, ZG, bringing all the facts.
Am I really? Is that not just like a generally known fact?
That was the joke.
Okay. You need a little more poison in that, then. I didn't get the sarcasm.
It was a joke built on truth. You do study a lot.
No, you gotta be like, wow, ZG,
okay.
Really study.
All right, ZG, why don't you tell me who's in the upper right? He did such a good job learning how to identify player spawns.
There you go, there it is. In the top right for Team Ends up 2-0, he is Serral.
In the bottom left-hand corner of the map, our red Terran player is Bunny.
Well, you see, Wardy, the reason that this is a Terran-favored map is because it has a 34-second rush distance, and only 70% of the bases of a map like 2,000 atmospheres, which favors the Terran.
Is 70% an accurate number?
No. The rush distance might have been, I actually don't remember, but definitely.
I think, how many is 2,000 got? 9? 8.5?
Bases? Yeah, I guess what are you doing with the half bases?
If you got 8.5, yeah, I think 70% might be accurate.
It might be. I mean, I thought it was a good guess, but it's definitely not based off. I'm never going to do those types of numbers. I'm never going to be the stat person. At most, I can read the rush distance on Wikipedia and tell you guys the rush distance.
Remember that season where the rush distance was the same as the alphabetical order of the maps?
That was a good season. That had
was a
Ephemeron in it. I remember that.
Yeah, that was a good season.
Yeah.
I like that.
All right, so we have Bunny going to go for an SCV scout, which, yeah, I mean, you didn't do that last game, actually. I wonder if that alone would have changed his plan, and then the Lings don't get in, and so on and so forth. But now he's a bit worried. Serral has, in one game, Roach rushed him. In the second game, Pool first him, which is a bit more defensive than it is offensive, but the point is, scouts probably necessary from here on out.
You just got to be on top of your game when you're 0-2 down, right? This is not the time to be cutting any corners. Because you don't just want to be the guy that dies to a Roach rushing game 3. So, a little bit rough for Bunny. He, is behind because of the scoreline, but he's behind because of how he then has to play because of the scoreline too. Serral lined up to take a very fast third hatchery, so it'll be a slightly later ling speed setting up this game, but overall still going to be pretty regular across the board. And we'll see if Bunny is going to drop a second gas, or if we're going to 3CC it up. Looks like we're heading towards our triple command center.
Yes, we are. No second gas. So finally going to be able to play out his game. Well, I say that. Serral clipped it on a Roach Horn. And that would not be being able to play out your game.
Yeah, that would suck.
It would suck for Bunny fans out there, which, it's always funny when, like, everyone on the desk and every commentator that I've ever heard is like, I'm a big fan of Serral, and just one of those times I'm going to be like, I really don't like this player, so I'm just going to actively cheer against him.
You see, like, Bunny running some money off me one time at Home Story Cup, and I'm just like, I've had a vendetta ever since.
There you go, exactly. That needs to be brought up on the desk. That would make things interesting.
Oh. Bunny is really well loved as well, right? It's, especially by the casters, who we got to hang out with him a whole bunch before and stuff. He's definitely he's definitely just a very likable player. So, it actually hurt me a little bit when everyone is. I know I joined in, but like predicting against him, I want Bunny to go all the way and win a championship, and he's playing great lately. Just think, one thing I didn't really mention is that Serral, of course, like I know they mentioned on the desk, but he hasn't won a tournament all year, and we know Serral is gonna mean business when he's not won in a while. I think this might be the event,
especially when his usual obstacles have already been knocked out of the tournament. I mean, Trap did take the last chance tournament off of him.
Yep.
Hold on, this year technically, yeah. But yeah, it's usually either Clem or Rainer. So this is supposed to be Serral's best setup, and it was a question of can Bunny bring his absolute A game, his S game, whatever arcade version you want to use for ratings, and that's just difficult to do. I mean, just the mere fact that it is like crossover, for instance, already is going to put Bunny a little bit less than his best. And even that wasn't quite good enough to defeat Dark, for instance, in the GSL. So we'll see if Bunny eats his words about Serral not being as good after this.
Yeah, we will see a couple of extra racks coming down. It's just very speedy into the triple racks, right? Just you get a Viking out, really no time wasted getting stim started. And I do like that, just getting aggressive right away, getting your bio units on the map, being active. I like that a lot. We'll see what Serral's going to end up doing. Looks like we're just going to line up for Bane speed, and we'll see. We saw a lot yesterday. Serral played a lot of Ling Bane heavy stuff, and then eventually just said, right, now's the time to get my lurkers out. And usually by the time you got the lurkers out, that's where the game really was in his favor, but there were definitely points of weakness when he was playing Ling Bane, where some Widow Mines got good connections. He did take a couple bad fights here and there. And I think, if anything, that might be the kind of the point at which Bunny really wants to try and take advantage of these games.
And I do 100% expect Serral to play again, just like Mass Ling Bane. Oxide is, I mean, 99% of the time. There was a time where it was actually like a decent amount of Roach games, to be fair, but not mutas, basically, is what I was trying to get to. Not mutas. Like, you either go into Ling Baneling, Roach, or Roach Ravager, and with the Ling Baneling, and Roach Ravager, you go to Lurkers. They're going to be cost-efficient towards the later stages of Oxide, as legitimately, all jokes aside, it does become a very difficult map to get bases on, and to have enough economy for Zerg to do its thing with just Ling Baneling, which is throw away resources over and over again. That just gets difficult. So Lurkers, they do tend to be better in that regard, and if you can get there, you can feel very comfortable as long as you have 5 bases going, which that much is usually guaranteed on Oxide for the Zerg.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely, I mean, you're already on the way there, right? Plus is that macro hatchery coming up too? I mean, it just feels like a lot of bases right now. No, I guess it's just double expanding really quickly.
Yep. Yep.
Which kind of, in a way, kind of acts the same way as a macro hatch, right? You know, if you're just going to play a Ling Bane, which we kind of are, you know, if you can take a bit, you know, a 5th on position, why not just do that? And that's exactly what we will do for the moment. Obviously, that then is more exposed, maybe some work that can be pushed into, so you do run the risk of losing it, but
yeah,
if Serral's confident to keep it alive, then, you know, 2 birds, 1 stone.
Yeah, it can be kind of like awkward if your 5th gets canceled and it's like, well, I still have a 5th and that's good economically, but then the larva could become an issue. We don't really only be talking about that, I guess, if Bunny was applying a bit more pressure. Right now, his first little move out is kind of more clever than it is actually scary, using this little area for the tank to try and draw the Ling Baneling into a very, very poor position.
Bane run by is waiting for the chance to go, but Tank's got sieged up there. That'll help to defend this as right side base in a little bit of trouble. Bunny kind of trying to get everywhere right now and see how well he deals with this. The Banelings don't do a lot over there. These Queens go a bit too far forward. Transfusion does save the Queen a second to keep it alive again, and that Queen will stick around. Creep spread is already getting to the point of being really good though, right? Where it's just this creep and substantial amount of creeps, like 2 or 3 creep tumors at least, in front of every hatchery, and that is going to mean that Bunny just has to do so much pushing back before he can start really pushing in anywhere.
I do really love how he's trying to set up this push. Like, again, it is more clever than it is scary for Serral because it's in the middle of the map. But from there, Bunny can continue hammering his creep spread, and eventually Serral's going to have to try and dislodge him either with an actual engagement or a couple of run-bys, and that is currently what Serral has set up here. Big ol' Baneling run by Bunny. He finds it with his reinforcements, and so he will respond to it. Fair enough, and with the tank still on that high ground off of creep, it looks like Bunny will be able to respond and continue his push by the looks of things. Hellbats can tank this one. There you go.
Yeah, interesting. That wasn't like the best set of Bane connections because the Hellbats really did take a lot of them, so a little scary perhaps as Bunny keeps on pressing. Then again, Bunny's also 80 work, 74 workers, good economy, 4th base coming up. You know, it's not like he is just all out attacking here. There is a backup plan, so not the end of the world for Serral to take a slightly worse off fight. Serral started his hive here, and he has not yet dropped down a Hydra Den, right? So one of the things yesterday was that he was actually a little bit out of sync with going into the Hydra Den, then the Lurker Den too. Right now, it's starting to get so late that I even wonder if that's the plan at all, if we don't just go into Ultras here.
Well, yeah, that actually could be the option, but right now Bunny is finding some momentum. He attacks off to the right side, something that he'd already injured earlier and could target fire down. By the looks of things, no Banelings are here, so absolutely the 5th base will be going down. Serral, not going to be losing sleep over that yet, also knows that he hasn't taken really an engagement yet. He knows that there's still going to be a main Bunny force in the middle and plenty of drops off to the side, and this is where perhaps the snowball can start for Bunny.
Yep, no, this is exactly what you want, right? These are the kind of things that can go very well for you. We are going to fight down here. These Bane's going to get here, but Bunny was watching. He lifts up without really taking any damage, and Bunny is just, you know, playing a good game at the moment, although that's obviously not great. Oh, we're going to kill that medevac, right? We kill it as it turns back around. Oh, okay. Well, that was obviously a little bit scary for Bunny. Maybe thought there was boost there. Maybe just not paying attention. Miss hotkey or so. That could have been very, very dangerous.
Yeah, probably hoping the Queens had moved on elsewhere, but it actually did, make sense that the Queens were there to continue pushing that creep spread. Because as soon as Serral just kind of concedes that creep spread's gone, then his other 5th, his 4th now, would also be in trouble. So you can't really just give that up as the Zerg. But it means that Bunny might try a different avenue of attack, but Serral with another big ol' run by, takes out the tanks, finds the reinforcements. Bunny quick to respond. Looks like he's going to have enough Marines as long as he micros decently, which he does. And this was a rather large Zerg task force. So, a bit of a trade. Yeah, tanks went down, economy did go down, but really not all that much as Bunny handles it with grace.
And yes, there's a lot to be said about just pulling Bunny back home a little bit or taking his attention back home. Because now Serral, you could argue, has a little bit more momentum. We already seen an attack coming down this bottom right. Maybe we're going to flank into the middle. Maybe we're just going to hit the 4th. But this is maybe where you've started to move Bunny, and maybe that's where Serral can just say, hey, look, this is how fast I am. This is my multitasking. He's back here on the left, just Lings needed because there's no tanks here anymore or anything. Queens on their own in the right side, though, because a lot of Serral's forces are bottom right just not doing anything. We do see the Ling Bane coming in. Transfusions will buy the time, and here we go with the Ling Bane now. This Planetary Force is probably going to go down, but losing the Planetary, that's tough to recover from Bunny, but it's a momentum move where Serral needs to make sure he doesn't die to the counterattack. He's fighting up top as well, as Bunny takes a Bane shot before lifting. Serral, similar supplies to Bunny, but the one who's done so much eco damage. Bunny's the one that's going to have so much trouble rebuilding as more SCVs are destined to die here, and it just seems as though Serral is going to get so much Jund transfusions to keep
God.
this base alive. Is it going to go down? No!
Oh, nothing went right for Bunny there. Serral, once he had pinned Bunny back into his own base, he took full advantage of it, popping the planetary. And what really sucks there, too, is that Bunny had like 2 tanks that were actually starting to try to shoot the Banelings, but they kept on moving targets, so they never got any shots off, which of course meant the Banelings were available. The command center is going to be saved at the last second, but Bunny has lost momentum. He's lost tanks. I think he even lost his Ghost Academy. He's losing more tanks to the front lines. Those have been here since the beginning of time, and they finally get taken out. Bunny has lost all momentum. He's got a turtle at this point.
Production tab's empty for Bunny. It has been for a few seconds. He's got to build depots before he can build units. Marines are on their own down here. Serral is just overrunning on every single front. The wall isn't even complete right now, so the Ling's just running after these SCVs anyway. And Serral's having a great time in a game where he never really teched up, right? He took adrenal glands, he started 3-3, but he never really used the hive past that and just sort of said, yeah, I'm going to beat you with like pure Ling Bane army movement engaging.
And no doubt Bunny did not, really see that coming from the get-go. He probably was anticipating some type of hive technology, either the lurkers we see so commonly on Oxide, or some ultras. And of course thought his momentum was working out really well, and then just suddenly it wasn't. That one run by leading to so many more. As we see the last seconds possibly of Bunny's life in this tournament. It is a sad ending for Bunny, who really had a lot of, I think, momentum despite GSL. We knew that he could perform very well, but this was not it. Serral just proved how darn good he is in ZVT.
Serral 3-0, just a few different styles,